So, you want to pass your NIC EIC assessment. Well, if you stick around, you might just learn how just to do exactly that. So, if you've clicked on this, you are probably hoping to pass your NIC or your approved contractor scheme assessment. And today, of all days, is my actual assessment. And as I've said to you guys previously on the channel, it is my assessment and I'm gonna try and film as much as I possibly can within reason with the assessor if he allows me to. And it's his prerogative, he doesn't have to allow me to film it. But what he will do, if we can't film him on camera, I will explain everything, all the processes all the way through. And hopefully get as much footage as we can and try and undo the myth on that it's impossible to pass. So before we go any further, please make sure, if this sounds like a video that you are really going to be interested in, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Link is in the corner. Turn your notifications on. It's where we share absolutely everything to do with running this electrical business alongside our construction business. So let's get stuck into the video. So, first things first, right? So I don't want to make this too much of a big stuffy video. I want to try and keep it as relaxed as possible, if that is even a thing. So, don't think that, oh yeah, I'm super chilled about everything. My assessor's going to be here any second. And I've been doing this for 20 years and it's still ridiculously stressful, okay? So take that one out of your mind straight away, thinking that you are the only ones that get stressed. It's not true, right? The assessor that I've got coming today, he is absolutely fantastic. I had him last year, it was great. It was like having a mate coming round, okay? Don't get me wrong, I have had the worst of worst assessors before, but this guy that's coming round, it's actually a pleasure to have him here. So what I will say, the big tip that I can give you straight off the bat is be organised, okay? Try and be as organised as you possibly can. So like here, I have got all my documents, all my like regs books, anything guidance that I use, get it here, get it all out ready. Don't wait to scrat around the van and hope that you've got everything in place. So things you're gonna need, okay? So we're gonna need a complaints record. We're gonna be needing a risk assessment forms. You're gonna need a blank, what do they call them? Letter-headed paper. You're gonna need that for your business to show that you are who you are. You're gonna need a health and safety policy. Then you're gonna need all your reference books. So here we've got like things like the EICR code breakers, guidance notes 3 for inspecting and testing. We've got electrical installation for your BS 7671. And then we've got, I don't know whatever this one is, the EIT wiring regulations for the 18th edition, right? So I've got that, I've got the on-site guide, amongst other things, right? Do you need everything on there? Some of the reference books, no. You need your regs book, and I would highly recommend that you have your on-site guide. Now mine is in the van straight away because that's obviously where we're going out to. So the other things you definitely need is your complaints record, health and safety and all that lot. That has to be on there. And also a copy of your insurance, your liability insurance. And if you're doing a like EICRs, things like that, you need your, I think it's indemnity insurance policy. So mine are all on the laptop, which is just behind there. So rather than print them all off, they are all there. The other thing is you need to make sure, depending on what scheme you're going through, you need to make sure that you have got your sites ready. But before you do anything else, I'm going to guide you through the second he rings that doorbell. So once your NIC assessor has gone through your front door, be sure, for me, what I always do is offer them a cup of tea or a coffee. It sounds so basic, but because of your nerves, quite often, you forget this simple task. Now, I know you're thinking, that's ridiculous, you don't need to do that. It's not really about the cup of tea or coffee. What it's about is breaking that ice, you know, breaking the ice, get a bit more of a normal informal chat. How's the journey been here? You know, normal thing, because what it does, it lowers your stress level and theirs. Because don't forget, sometimes this might be their first time they've ever met you and they're nervous too. Believe it or not, they're nervous too. They don't know how you work, they don't know how you operate, they don't know how you behave. Offer them a tea. So once you've sorted the T out, okay, now I know you might be thinking, yeah, whatever, mate, you're just going too far. It really isn't. I honestly, I can't stress enough. It just puts me at ease and the assessor. And it's a bit more personable approach because, let's be honest, you're under almost exam conditions, right? So I'm doing the approved contractor scheme, which I have been for the last few years. So I will take a pew, right? And bring this in a little bit closer. So like I say, genuinely, I'm on my assessment now. So I'm going to look on my cameras, making sure, because I'm down in the studio, right? You don't have to have a studio. You don't have to have a garden office. You don't have to have an office at all. So I'm going to put that there because I'm not going to know whether he's here. I'm doing the approved contractor scheme, right? So half of the day, roughly, is going to be admin based, and they're going to go through things like your certification, make sure you're not making mistakes, and you're going to go through all your registrations, make sure everything tallies up and all that sort of stuff, because it's basically a big audit, right? Which is fine, okay? So everybody knows, and the assessors know, that we're tradies. We don't like paperwork. They're not expecting everything to be absolutely perfect. Spelling mistakes and all that. I'm dyslexic. I've got ADHD. The last thing I have on my mind is paperwork. It's annoying, I hate it. And guarantee today, I will have stuff that's not quite right. And that's okay. As long as it's safe, paperwork, no one's going to die over paperwork, are they? Right? So let's just get that one straight. If it's absolute shocking and you haven't put things down like the actual details, it raises suspicions, don't get me wrong. But just let that one go, right? So I've now got to take my assessor to 3 sites, okay? So they want to see a big range of what you can do and obviously what's available for you to actually go and show them. So I don't really do much commercial work. I only do the approved contractor scheme purely because my previous assessor for 10 years, who unfortunately has passed away now, again, another good friend, he really wanted me to do it and he pushed and pushed and pushed for me to do it. So I did it, just more for him. After he passed away, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it for him. And do I need it? Not really. I might do 1 commercial job a year, if that. And that's all right. So if you're doing that, you need 3 sites. So they want us to show some major work that you're doing. So like today, we're going to be doing, because of access problems that I've got on some of the jobs, I've got one where I put another circuit in, but I've already changed the board previously, so we can have a look at all that anyway. So we just put a new circuit in for him and a garage conversion that we've just done, so that's fine. Another one, I've just rewired a garage, put a new board in, so there's some new circuits, things like that, so that's a great one. But actually on that site as well, they have got the dreaded cable cancer. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the green goo. So if you Google that now, Google green goo, and it'll give you all the details you need. But obviously I thought that's a good one to go and show him because it's something different. It's not your standard boring stuff. And I know why it's a problem and why it needs rewiring. So that's another job. And then the third job, I'm going to take him over to our massive build where I'm going to show him all the first fix that we're doing on the whole site. And also I have got a temporary board there that we've put as like a site board in place. So that is fine. If you're doing domestic installer scheme, obviously again this is all based on the NICEIC EIC, you need 1 site as far as I'm aware, and it's usually the whole assessment takes about half a day. Now don't think that just because you're doing domestic installer that you're any less of an electrician, right? Which is what a lot of people lead you to believe, oh, you're not a real electrician because you're domestic. It's a load of nonsense, and it's usually people who have got really low self-esteem who say stuff like that. Because it's an absolute load of, I can't swear, twaddle. All right? It is. And the people who think like that are really narrow-minded. There's so many amazing Sparkies out there, and I mean amazing Sparkies that only ever do the domestic, because why do they need it? I don't really need to do it as an approved, but hey, here we are. So, I've gone through all that process. You need to make sure your tester is all up to date. That is a really, really important one because they will nail you for that. So that includes your calibration certificate. Make sure that is up to date because it's amazing how quickly that flies through and you forget something as simple as that. Get that sorted. You're going to also need to show that your test equipment that all matches up with your paperwork and things like your wandering lead. Okay, so because they might ask you a question of how do you verify that you've got continuity for your bonding from said point A in, say, the MET all the way to your stop tap, which is like donkeys away, right? Well, how are you going to prove that? You're going to need to prove it with your wandering lead. And then he's going to ask simple questions like, okay, so if we just plug that in, yeah? No, you've got to null that out, because mine is roughly 100 ohms, the length on mine, as I know what it is anyway. But as long as you know these questions and you're answering stuff, then everyone's a winner. So we've gone through all those things. So hopefully that's settled your nerves a little bit, because I guarantee that you're watching this because you've got your NICEIC assessment or your NAPIT assessment coming up imminently, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit. So this is, like I say, real world channel. There's nothing hidden from me. It never has been, and it always has been. On every video I do, it's very, very just honest, right? So today, my head is not completely in it, and I'll tell you why. It's because I'm supposed to be at my uncle's funeral all the way in Scotland, and my head is up there rather than here in on the job. So I will make mistakes today, but you know what? That's okay, I'm human. And I'll be telling my assessor, look, this is the situation, this is what it is. So I'm gonna be a little bit all over the place, and that's all right. And he'll be understand, because do you know why? He's not an absolute tool. One of the other assessors I had, hey, if you get him, then just strap yourself in. But do your due diligence, do your research the night before, just go over simple things, you know, making sure you know where you can find things in the regs. So if you, that's actually another thing. So if you don't know an answer, don't panic. You've only got to be able to find it in the book, okay? They're not here to, they're really not here to knock you down. So I'm going to sign off this second, okay? So like I say, if any one of these things, like I say, has helped you, just settle your nerves, then make sure you subscribe. Do me a favour, obviously, and I'm going to finish the whole day today, and I'm going to try and film as much of it as I can. Like I said, I don't know whether he'll let me film the actual assessor himself. Like I say, I won't, because I don't reveal names or anything like that unless he tells me. So like I say, genuinely, he'll be here any second. So I'll be back. Okay, so as the assessor, I've spoke to him this morning, and unfortunately, we can't film. But what he has said is we can have full disclosure on everything. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Now, I'm going off to the first site where we've been to. So this is a little bit in reverse. So I now know what my outcome is on it, and also the things that I need to work on. But I've just got to go back to the site because it's one with the green goo that the client wants to talk to me in more detail about the process and what's gone on, which is fine. So it's actually really, really good. I mean, there's so much to tell you in this that, hey, I'm actually really excited about what has just happened this morning, and hopefully I can share all this info with you. So stay tuned. Okay, so this is the job that we came to. So this is a garage rewire that we've done. So we did the testing here on the board. So this board we installed, and it led to loads of questions, which is exactly what I wanted on my assessment, which I know you might be thinking, why the hell would you want questions, Mikey? And the reason why is because I want to show that I know what I'm talking about and the knowledge. And also for the assessor's point of view, he's trying to eke out as much of that information as physically possible, which is brilliant. So for here, actually for him, he's teaching me other things as well, which is amazing, is what you want to do, because like I've said, you want to get as much information out of this day as humanly possible, because if you don't, what is the point? So things we were testing on here, we were testing that it's a radial circuit, and we were testing all those, doing my R1 plus R2, I was doing my ZS, because, and obviously questions, because this is not the main board for the house, this is a sub board. And also, why did I have the RCD, no RCD protection here? And all these will be apparent. So we're going to jump back into the van, and then we're going to go back to the office, and I'll explain a bit more in the van in 2 seconds. So on that job, as I've just left, because we've gone through for all a bit finer details, all on the rewire and stuff like that we're going to be completing. So it is a work in progress, the job. As you can tell, it's my school, it's an absolute nightmare getting out here. So it's all a work in progress and future plans and all the rest of it. Now the NIC, has slightly changed, and it might be the same with like NICEIC and all the rest of it. And it's all about trying to, so you've got to remember for your assessment, if you're doing EVs, if you're doing solar, you're doing battery storage and things like that, you need to be able to show your assessor a wide variety of the jobs you do, and that also means commercial. So if you're doing commercial jobs, they want to see it. They need to see it, because it's, as the assessor was saying to me, it's all very well if your general work is on multi-million pound mansions with swimming pools and, you know, outdoor jacuzzis and all that sort of stuff, but then you go and take him to just go and have a look at a consumer unit change. It's not really showing him the work that you normally do. Now, I understand, well, I might not be able to gain access to said houses, but you have a long time from when you get notified that your assessment is due to sort that out. So you can do it. So we're back in the office. So what have we learned today? And I know it's, so on that job, we went through various different things. So we need to make sure we tick all the boxes. So they're going to ask you various testing, especially we're going to find out whether your test equipment is all okay. So if you're using your voltage indicators, they need to make sure they're GS38, which means they've got limited exposure on the tips and all that lot. Proving unit, make sure you've got all that. Lock off devices is really, really important to make sure you've got all these. Although most of the time, like there, is in a controlled environment. So we don't really need to lock off because we're working on that system and nobody else can go in. We're not going out anywhere else. So that's that. So that is fine. That's absolutely spot on. So today I was asked about my RCD testing times, and I was asking my assessor, I won't use his name, because we just can't. I was asking him as many questions as I possibly can. For example, why is it that I've noticed that when we're doing RCD testing on our 180 degrees on those, is why is that generally higher than the 0 degrees? And so we were discussing things like that. Also, like battery storage. I don't do any battery storage, right? And I'm not intending to do that. But why, you know, I was asking my view on battery storage in the loft and asking his view on it, on the regulations behind all that sort of thing. And this is what I'm trying to do. So you build up a rapport with your assessor. Now, I've loved today, and it's just really unusual, and it's a really weird thing to say, because I will be perfectly honest, for years, I absolutely hated today. Like, these are days that I would actively have panic attacks, really worry, and it's because all this old school myth used to be hammered out. How many times you heard, oh God, got my assessor, he's horrible. Oh, this is going to be a nightmare. They're going to fail me for this, they're going to fail me for that. Bruh. They don't want to fail you, I tell you now. They don't want to fail you. And to be honest, is there actually such a thing as a failure? They might do a revisit because something's not quite right, and rightly so. They want everything to be within the regulations, and let's be honest, the regulations are the minimum standard. Let's just let that sit for a minute. Minimum standard, okay? So hopefully I've debunked all that a little bit, that it's a nightmare and it's a horrible process, right? So being completely transparent, right? My paperwork today has been pulled up. And what I mean by that, I've not failed, I've completely, passed with flying colours, but what the feedback that we've had is I need to add way more detail in my certification, whether that's EICRs or my domestic installers and like my installation certificates and things like that, right? And there's two reasons behind that. One is because you need to add more detail, so it's fully listing everything that we've done. So, and also covers myself, because if I don't put the details in enough, not even though I know it, that's not good enough. So you need to be putting in why you've done that, or what have you found? Is there any departures? So that is one thing. And the other thing is that if it all goes completely pear-shaped and you have to go to court you can honestly stand there and go, hey, look at all the details, blah, blah, blah. It's listed all these things on here, right? That is something that I will take away. Now, I've also, being transparent, there's been some technical issues because we heavily rely on online certifications and things like that. And for some reason, which we went through, it just decided it doesn't want to play. Does that mean I've failed? No, I've been honest, and I've showed him other copies of it, and it's a problem that's happened. It's through no fault of my own. Does it mean the installation's unsafe? No, it doesn't mean it's unsafe. So how things are moving forward for me, and hopefully this will help you as well. So one of the things that I found really interesting today was actually all to do with your qualifications, right? So now what you're having to do is prove what qualifications you've got. Now that doesn't mean that you've had to go through the apprenticeship route, you've got to do the AM2 and all these sorts of things. If you haven't got any of these, that's it, you're never going to be signed off. Now that's not the case. There's basically a listing, and then you can find out what. So it's about like tracking your path of what you have to make sure you're competent effectively. And I know what it's gearing up towards. It's towards somebody else, if a problem arises, that you are qualified to do what you're doing. Now, what we were discussing that 20 years ago, you may have got a load of courses, and it might have been two people from a company who's doing these courses. One of them goes off to do the AM2, he goes and passes that, and the other one, because the boss decided, no, I don't want him to go and do that AM2, both very good Sparkies, but now because this guy here hasn't got his AM2, means that he now has to go and sit that. So doesn't mean he's a less of a Sparky, it just means that he hasn't got the relevant paperwork because of a decision that was made 20 years ago. So it is a little bit of a nightmare. Contact the NICEIC and they will help you. Online, I think there's a load of links that you can go through and you can find out, put in and you can see, make sure you've got everything moving forward. It's not come into force just yet, but it will be. So that's fine, so we will look into that. But also for me, as a business, so a commercial business, what we've got now is that we have made the decision that we are focusing purely on our domestic side of the business for now. It doesn't mean that it's going to change, it's not going to change. So for me, that would include in my scope would be your normal domestic work and EV chargers. We're not looking at doing solar, we're not looking at doing battery or anything like those. So for next year, we'll probably only have to do a half-day assessment because there's no point doing a full-day assessment because we can get everything sorted in that one job. So it won't mean necessarily that I have to go to 3 sites, as I've said at the very, very start of the video, for next year. But it has to be a job of significance that covers those works. For example, a rewire where I'm adding in more than one circuit with an EV charger. That would be perfect, okay? But if I only had an EV charger as a job, I wouldn't be able to just use that one as my sign off. It would mean I need an EV charger and then an additional job to go to in doing, a multiple circuit install. And the same as if I'm doing commercial. So if I was doing a commercial job, I need to take him to that. Because if I don't take him to that one, hey, it's a revisit, okay? So we need to make sure you're covering all the jobs that you're doing. And what I would suggest is you speak to your NIC assessor prior and say, look, hey, like here, like today, hey, I've got these jobs, I've got 3 jobs we can go and look at if you want. One of them is, we've got a rewire, we've got an EV on it, and we've also got the green goo. Wicked. So I really, really hope, so obviously it's a shame I've not been able to actually film the whole process, but I completely get it, we're not allowed to. So I'm really hope that this video helps you, settles your nerves, makes you feel more confident in passing, because I really don't think it's a problem. They just ask you questions to gauge your knowledge. That's all it is. And I genuinely look forward to having the assessor. I'm looking forward to it again next year. And he knows I'm filming all this, so we're not hiding anything. So I really hope this helps you. And leave it in your comments below, right? So if you've watched this, then done your assessment, let me know how it's gone, how your findings behind it. Have you got a really good assessor like I have? I've showed you the ups and downs. I've been as honest and transparent as I possibly can with anything else. If there's something I've not covered and you want me to cover it, put it in the comments below, and what I'll try and do is a live Q&A for a load of people if possible. Yeah, but like I say, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm trying to put out content there too, which is completely free to you guys, to make sure that, you know, we can try and get some more awesome tradespeople coming into this, not freaking out, especially if you're an apprentice coming into it, or you're an adult learner coming in, you know, retraining, things like that. I mean, more credit to you. Honestly, I think it's wicked that you're doing this. I don't believe in this, oh, they're taking work off. I think it's I think that's just really salty, and I don't like it. So yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you have, like I say, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I shall film another one for these of the NICEIC things later on down the line. And yeah, we'll get back to normal filming on site tomorrow. Right, catch you later. Take care. Stay safe.